Welcome to the Honest Media. I'm Tom Pappard, and today is December 8th, 2016. There's been a number of things in the news since last week. We briefly talked about the now somewhat infamous Pizzagate in last week's episode. And since then, somebody who, depending on your perspective, is either a complete lunatic or a paid actor, the man is an actor for a living, has stormed into Comet Pizza, one of the locations identified by internet activists and others as the potential epicenter of this disgusting pedophilia activity, allegedly. And he went in with a gun. He was immediately taken out by police, and it looks like that's going to be the end of that story. And what the media has now done, the mainstream media, they're calling the entirety of Pizzagate fake news. They're saying it's perpetuated by fake websites, it's lies, it's destroying people's life. Twitter has suggested they're going to start disallowing anybody to use the hashtag Pizzagate. And while I do understand on the surface where they're coming from, if this is really hurting people, why are they taking such extreme action is my question, and why fake news? For those who don't know the backstory to fake news, it's a term invented by the notoriously clickbait-pushing BuzzFeed. BuzzFeed created fake news. BuzzFeed coined the term fake news. Let me clarify. To say BuzzFeed creates fake news, well, that's actually also true. There's a couple on HGTV, Home and Garden Television, Chip and Joanna, two of the network's most famous personalities. Everybody loves them because they have a reality show, sure, but they seem real. Whether they are or not, I have no idea. BuzzFeed recently published an article about Chip and Joanna suggesting that they go to an anti-gay, radical, disgusting Christian church because they dug up a YouTube video of the pastor of the church saying the church, while it does not condone, saying that the church does not condone same-sex marriage. In other news, Chip and Joanna go to a Christian church. So BuzzFeed posts this article saying that their church leadership is full of disgusting, hateful, anti-gay people, when really they're just representing mainstream Christian beliefs. That's it. The entire media runs with this, to the point where HGTV viewers, loyal to their favorite entertainment people from the network, begin pushing back. And man, I hope someone finally pushes back against BuzzFeed. This is BuzzFeed we're talking about. BuzzFeed, who was invited to profile Trump extensively, ended up writing a hit piece, and the Trump campaign ended up sending them a bill for the entire costs of the airfare and hotel fare for the group after they released the hit piece and promising they wouldn't do so. So, fake news. You notice the mainstream media, they can write 50-plus articles about Trump being a racist, sexist, having a small manhood, being a short-tempered rapist who had unlawful sexual relations with a 13-year-old. These are all things the mainstream media said. And they do this without any hard evidence and without anybody else in the mainstream media questioning their journalistic integrity. Fake news is something that the mainstream media created to discredit anybody they disagree with. That's all it is. Now, is there fake news? Is there news? Are there news websites that put out bad information willfully? Sure, of course there are. They're on the left too, but they're definitely on the right. They're all over. And what it is this ad revenue-driven society. Whatever can get the most clicks. I'm victim to it too. I ask numerous people, how can I make my title of my good article that I've put tons of work into, how can I make it more clickbaity? And we go back and forth trying to figure out how I can make more people click on my article to read my actual arguments and my actual research, but it has to be a nice clickbaity title, otherwise you're not going to click. So what happens when you then decide, well, what if instead of just making the title of the article clickbaity, I make the article a bunch of nonsense? I was looking at something last night that claimed Trump regrets vaccinating his children. And they base this entire claim off Trump saying, yeah, there's something wrong with my kids. They like making deals too much. This is fake news. That is fake news. Pizzagate, reporting on what other people have found, reporting on what people have found in the Podesta emails as provided by WikiLeaks. That's not fake news. That's reporting an issue that's out there. As Michael Flynn's son said, so long as the issue is out there, so long as it's not proven false, so long as the media tries to bury it, it's going to continue being a story. So that's what we're talking about this episode. The entirety of this episode is going to be dedicated to fake news. And before we go to break, I want to talk a little bit about Vox Day's book, Social Justice Warriors Always Lie, because this is going to be integral to understanding what's going on here with the mainstream media, what's going on here with this whole idea of fake news, and what may, because Pizzagate is not proven, may never be proven, but what may be going on with Pizzagate. So, this book by Vox Day, Social Justice Warriors Always Lie, I strongly recommend it. He codifies the social justice warrior operating system, which is based largely on three maxims. Social justice warriors always lie. Social justice warriors always double down. And social justice warriors always project. That last one is essential. Always project. Because these mainstream media outlets, for the past 2 years, have been saying anything bad they can find about Trump. And then you find out maybe they did it. I don't know. It could be interesting. So, this is an example of the blowback to fake news. From the Daily Caller, a website labeled Fake News threatens to sue the Washington Post for defamation. And this is the website Naked Capitalism. And they accuse the Washington Post of running a debunked list of fake news websites in the sensational story compiled by a dubious team of researchers without substantiating their claims or giving Naked Capitalism a chance to respond to the allegation. And Naked Capitalism, for those who don't know, is just a fine website. There's no outright lies on this website. They're not publishing stories, like I said earlier, about the fake Trump vaccination story. They publish fine information, but they publish information the Washington Post disagrees with. That's what creates fake news. And who is really creating fake news? These people who are an independent outlet struggling to get ahead in the digital landscape, or the Washington Post, owned in part by Jeff Bezos, who had a team of researchers do nothing but look for dirt on Donald Trump throughout the entire campaign season, who now are getting sued because they're committing libel and slander against people who have good websites. Who is creating the real fake news? We'll be right back after the break. I'm Tom Pappert with The Honest Media, and at the risk of litigation, we're going to talk about Pizzagate. Welcome back to The Honest Media. I'm Tom Pappert, and today we've got a topic that will unsettle many people, and I'm sorry, I don't think we're going to be laughing much in this episode, but it's important. I'm talking, of course, about Pizzagate. We talked about it last week. Since then, a man stormed into the Comet Pizza Parlor with a gun, trying to find answers. Probably a crazy person, possibly a paid actor. You know, definitely a crazy person. Let's just put it out there. The guy's a psychopath. Never do anything like that. This isn't the Wild West. You're not in Red Dead Redemption. The guy's a nutcase, no matter what way you look at it. But we're going to talk about Pizzagate because I'm not intimidated by the actions of some nutcase. I'm not intimidated by Twitter saying they're going to stop allowing people to use the hashtag. The truth has to get out there at the risk of sounding like I'm in the X-Files and need to put my tinfoil back on. And people who act like this pedophilia scandal is unheard of, you know, it was this time last year, not too long ago, when we learned about a massive pedophile ring happening in the United Kingdom. And this is from NPR. Is that fake news? I don't know, you tell me. So for decades, there were whispers of a pedophile ring operating in the highest levels of British society. And yesterday, British police announced the results of an investigation that revealed those rumors to be an understatement. We should note this story might be disturbing. The tally of abuse seems to embrace virtually every British institution. Out of 1,433 suspects, 261 are considered people of public prominence, entertainers, athletes, and politicians. Hundreds more held responsible positions at schools, orphanages, hospitals, and prisons, the military. Some 200 are now dead, meaning this happened for a very long time. So we know it happened in Great Britain. We know members of the royal family may have even been implicated. This is happening at the highest parts of society, the people with the most money, the people with the most power, the people with the greatest capacity to cover up their crimes are the ones that are being caught. This happened across the pond. For people to say it's impossible for it to happen in the United States is a naive understatement, and these people should be immediately mistrusted. Again, entertainers, athletes, politicians, the military, people in charge of orphanages, schools, hospitals, prisons. This is what was happening in Great Britain. It's not outside the realm of possibility for it to be happening here. And of course, we talk about politicians. Jimmy Savile, British entertainment individuals. This is all something that is real. So now, allegedly, the Podesta emails is largely how this came out. And there is a series of code words that the FBI has previously identified, not related to Pizzagate, but simply pedophile chatter in general. It's been disseminated on the internet, and these are just a few of the terms. Hot dog is allegedly code for boy. Pizza, code for girl. Cheese, little girl. Pasta, little boy. Ice cream, male prostitute. Walnut, person of color. Map, seminal fluids. Sauce, orgy. Let's just read a little bit of one of the Podesta emails, maybe a couple Podesta emails. Hi, John. The realtor found a handkerchief. I think it has sap that seems pizza related. Is it yours? They can send it if you want. I know you're busy, so feel free to not respond if it's not yours or you don't want it back. And that is from an individual at the Sandler Foundation, who occurs over and over and over again in these Podesta emails as somebody who is communicating with the man. Another email from the Podesta emails. This all came from WikiLeaks, and in a moment, we'll talk about how we know WikiLeaks is legitimate. Another email. This is from Tamara Lozzato, Senior Vice President of Government Relations for the Pew Charitable Trust, based out of Washington, D.C. With enormous gratitude to Advance Man Extraordinaire Haber, I am popping up again to share our excitement about the reprise of our gang's visit to the farm in Lovettsville. And I thought I'd share a couple more notes. We plan to heat the pool, so a swim is a possibility. Bonnie will be Uber service to transport Ruby, Emerson, and Maeve Lozzato, 11, 9, and almost 7, so you'll have some further entertainment, and they will be in that pool for sure. And with the forecast showing prospects of some sun and a cooler temp of lower 60s, I suggest you bring sweaters or whatever attire will enable us to use our outdoor table with a pergola overhead so we dine al fresco. Why are they talking? When you have a pool party with your kids, do you mention their names and ages in the email? This is not proof of anything. It's important to say this is only creepy evidence. But what do you know? What do we know? We know that these have been code words. We know that there are code words that are appearing in the email. Another email from Hillary Clinton when asked what she wants for lunch. A hot dog with no bun. And again, allegedly, hot dog is code for boy. This type of stuff goes on and on and on. There's dozens of emails with this kind of insane, creepy code word, coded language. that just makes no sense. That's what's important. You can say, well, maybe it's not about Pizzagate. Maybe it is just innocent conversation. Some of these sentences make no sense unless they're talking in some kind of code. That is what gets me personally. That's what gets me. I don't spend a lot of time emailing nonsensical statements to professionals. If I email something, it usually has some sense to it. It's grammatically correct. I'm not talking about lunch meats. It's confusing, to say the least. So, and I don't think we can get the pictures up this week because it's wrong to put these businesses out there and say these businesses are something they may not be. But various companies, various of these pizza parlors that are connected to the Podesta email, they have logos that are eerily reminiscent of pedophilia logos for websites like Boy Lover. I'm not going to continue reading this, but they're triangles, and people have compared them to the logos of Comet Pizza and other pizza parlors and seen that they are nearly identical. In fact, some of these have since changed their logos, and this is sourced from the FBI pedophile symbols that they've unclassified. They've put out there for public consumption. If you look at these logos, you look at these symbols, that's what they are. You've got an Instagram. These people do this publicly because they think they can flaunt it. This art that they hang in their houses, that's little boys being hung upside down. Girls with what appear to be sore bottoms in short shorts. It's the most disgusting thing. And there's articles from the 90s and early 2000s about Podesta hanging this stuff in his house. We'll be right back after the break. This is Pizzagate. This is what we joked about last week. It's serious. It's not fake news. It's all alleged and unproven, but it's disgusting. And I'll be right back after the break to keep talking about it. Welcome back to The Honest Media. We're still talking about Pizzagate. So, one of the things I've neglected to mention is this all came out of an investigation into spirit cooking, which is very creepy and unsettling in and of itself. They call it performance art. That's what these people call it. And you can look at a woman named Marina Abramovic, a woman who has YouTube videos where she appears to be going through rituals. Again, we talked about this previously in previous episodes. This is the thing where one of the parts of spirit cooking, these bizarre rituals, this bizarre performance art, is with a sharp knife, stab your middle finger. Eat the pain. This is something these people do. There's YouTube videos of them doing it. Splashing walls with pig's blood, writing in walls with pig's blood. It's disgusting. And they've invited, on at least one occasion, the Podestas to participate in these creepy dinners, if you want to call them that. It doesn't appear that the Podestas did. And then this became a bit of a story in the week before the election. In that insane period of time, we didn't get to talk about it very much, but it was a big deal in certain communities. And one of the things that Marina said, is, oh, it's just performance art. It's just fun. We get together with politicians and celebrities and other famous types, and we have fun. They're goofy. They're weird. Well, then in Reddit Ask Me Anything, she says, if you are doing the occult magic in the context of a gallery, then it is art. If you are doing it in a different context, in spiritual circles, or in private houses or on TV shows, it is not art. So which is it, Marina? Is it art? Or is it creepy, ritualistic, cannibalistic acts? And I mentioned famous people. Lady Gaga, Beyonce, Jay-Z, and Kim Kardashian, to name a few, have been involved in this. And you can read more about this. You can read more about this in a blog by just an activist, just a researcher, called dcpizzagate.wordpress.com. And there are photographs of Marino with Lady Gaga and others standing over a pool of what appears to be blood with a fake human body in it as they eat pieces of the fake human body, and they eat pieces of food out of this tub. This is bizarre, cannibalistic rituals that... What is going on? How is this acceptable to anybody? How did we almost have a president who is tangentially connected to these people through her campaign manager, John Podesta, the man who advised Obama, the man who was in Steve Bannon's position for Obama? People act like this is nonsensical. They act like this is fake news when it comes from the WikiLeaks. The WikiLeaks, by the way, which have been, in my mind, utterly proven to be completely factually accurate in terms of content, based on a couple things. One of the WikiLeaks showed Podesta's passwords for Netflix, Twitter, and allegedly the Apple App Store. We know for a fact that it happened with Twitter because one individual... We do not condone this behavior. You can't do this. It's wrong. But it was funny. I laughed till there were tears in my eyes. He logged into Podesta's Twitter and said, "I am hereby switching sides. I'm changing my vote to Trump." And then I think he said, "Hi, poll," probably referencing 4chan. So the guy's email had his Twitter password that he didn't change after the leaks went out. If the leaks are fake, if they're all fabricated by some Australian wannabe hackers, that's what people say about WikiLeaks. If the WikiLeaks are faked, how did they have Podesta's email password? How did they have his Twitter password? That doesn't make sense to anybody. So the WikiLeaks were real. This is all coming from the WikiLeaks. And you can see Jimmy Comet on Instagram has a photo of what looks like a dungeon. Cement walls on all four sides, one light at the top. And he captions this photo with, "Oh yeah, looks fun." Another friend commented, #killroom. James responds, #murder. Another Instagram user connected to them, the user's name, "Working on my night cheese," who also went private since Pizzagate broke. You see small coffins, like child-sized coffins, in this guy's Instagram. Again, none of this is proven. It's all circumstantial, but it just keeps adding up. And it's just not going away. They can call it fake news. They can threaten to sue major outlets. They can run names like Mike Cernovich, Alex Jones, Paul Joseph Watson, these icons in the alternative media movement. They can drag them through the mud if they want. This isn't going away till we get answers. We have to have this investigated. It took decades in Great Britain for this to come out. Decades. Probably even longer. God knows how long it was going on. We don't have decades. If children are being harmed, if children are being sexually abused, if this is happening, and allegedly it may be, we don't have decades. These kids don't have decades. And it is morally reprehensible for the mainstream media to be calling this fake news when it's in the WikiLeaks that have largely been proven accurate. To say that, no, it doesn't matter. No, these kids don't matter. No, if it's really happened. No, it's not really happening. These kids don't matter. That is disgusting. And these people are going to have a lot to answer for if you believe in a maker, if you believe in God. These people are going to have a lot to answer for at the pearly gates if they contributed to the ongoing pedophilia rings that people are seriously beginning to believe exist, as they did exist in Great Britain. I don't know what else we can say on this subject with the media. For the media to deny this, again, we know in Great Britain, entertainment individuals were involved. It was probably suppressed by the media. I don't know if that part's true. But you have to assume, 30 years of going, it may have been a little bit suppressed by the media. Tons and tons of victims, millions of people. We know that Bill Clinton is close personal friends with Jeffrey Epstein, convicted pedophile whose plane was called the Lolita Express. We know these people exist. Some of them have been caught. It's unfathomable, but it's beginning to look real. We'll be right back after the break. We're going to continue talking about this for the rest of the episode. I'm Tom Pappert for The Honest Media. Welcome back to The Honest Media. I'm Tom Pappert, and before I get started, I do want to make clear, Pizzagate, I didn't come up with this. Alex Jones didn't come up with this. Mike Cernovich didn't come up with this. Nobody in the alternative media came up with this. This all started with a thread on the dark corner of the internet known as 4chan. A thread that has since been apparently purged. The archives are gone. They keep archives of all these websites, of these anonymous image boards, so people can go back for posterity and see what was written. It's also, I imagine, a legal concern. Just a guess. But these threads are gone. They've been purged, which is rarely, if ever, happened. But it started on 4chan.org, I believe, November 6th of this year. Before the election was even over, people are stumbling on this. November 6th of this year, slowly made it over to Reddit. The Reddit thread lasted roughly, or the Reddit subreddit lasted roughly a month. It was taken down from Reddit. There's now a summary available, and that's it. They moved over to a website called voat.co. And now there's another, it's a Reddit competitor from my understanding. And they continue this research. These are just people. These are people who apparently are passionate about this information. They were passionate about the election, and now they want to see this exposed. They're not hackers. They're not media personalities. They're none of these things. They're individuals who want to try to make a difference. And so, when the mainstream media, when individuals in the mainstream say things like, I hold at Roger Stone Jr. and at Real Alex Jones responsible for putting my family in danger at the Comet Ping Pong, meaning the pizza parlor where the gunman walked in. It makes no sense. First of all, nobody can decide what Roger Stone is. Is he a hatchet man? Is he a news personality? Nobody wants to call Roger Stone what he is, which is an activist, and an extremely effective one. Alex Jones, again, he may be one of the first people in the alternative media to make this story, but he did not create the story. I don't know, but I doubt there's anybody in the InfoWars newsroom on these Reddit subreddits, on these 4chan threads. I just don't see it happening logically. You've got Robert Mackey saying, you are responsible for this, to Alex Jones. You've got people saying Paul Joseph Watson and who is a henchman of Alex Jones have been pushing this. All kinds of people. Allegedly, there are messages from Jake Tapper to Michael G. Flynn, that's General Flynn's son, saying, I don't know why you would keep pushing this story. This is from Jake Tapper of CNN. I don't know if this is true. This is just a story I've heard. Saying, how dare you continue pushing this? I have respect for your father, but you're putting people's lives at risk. It's fascinating to see all these people, all these mainstream people gather and try to protect this. Meanwhile, people in the mainstream, we're not saying it's real. There are no police involved, to my knowledge. I hope there's an investigation, but we don't know. So there's no police involved. There's no proof of this. But you have to acknowledge that the research exists. You have to acknowledge that there are strange things happening in these emails that make no sense unless there's some kind of code. It's not proof. It's not stone cold proof. It's not something that you can send to the police and they'll go in and storm in with a SWAT team. We're not at that point. We may never get to that point. I hope one way or the other we know what all of this means. I hope that something comes out someday so we know what's going on here. And that is what I'm advocating. I want an investigation. I want people to look into this nonsense. And because it doesn't appear to be being done by the police, it doesn't appear to be being done by the FBI, you have people like me, you have people like Alex Jones, you have people like Paul Joseph Watson, Mike Cernovich, and Milo Yiannopoulos, who is going to be doing a college talk on Pizzagate. His talk will be titled Pizzagate, the Deep Dish on Democrats and Pedophilia. This is what they're trying to scare us out of doing. They're trying to scare us out of talking about it. And when the media is trying to scare you out of talking about something, that's when it's time to talk about it even more. So I don't care. I can be called fake news for this. I want answers. And I think the world deserves answers about this disgusting, disgusting, disgusting rumors. And earlier I mentioned, or one of the main criticisms I've had, I don't think I did mention this, is why would these global elites, why would these people who are at the top of politics, entertainment, why would they use a pizza parlor? Why would they use pizza for all of these things? That's so weird. Shouldn't they have underground bunkers where they can conduct their disgusting activities in private? And that is a major, major point. However, back to Great Britain, where we know all of this happened. It happened in Dolphin Square. From my understanding, that's a spa. That's a series of buildings and spa. From the Daily Mail, this is somebody who came forward. And I'm worried that people are not going to be able to come forward because if these cannibalistic rituals we see in the videos have anything based in reality, I don't even want to think about it. But this is from the Daily Mail. I was sexually abused at establishment pedophile parties. Victim of the 1970s Dolphin Square ring tells of being forced to perform sex acts as senior Tories celebrated Thatcher victory. The man, named only as David, said he was threatened and coerced into having paid sex with a group of influential men during a 3-month stay in London in 1975 while he was just 20 and high on drink and drugs. He claimed that he was paid for sex at VIP parties with conservative politicians and people in the business, legal, and military world. At one such event, he claims to have witnessed 2 brothers, aged between 8 and 10 years old, brought out wearing only bathrobes, drugged, and forced to sexually assault each other while groups of men looked on and drank. These are the allegations that came out of Great Britain in a relatively public setting. Is it outside of the realm of possibility that people would choose a public setting? Hide in plain sight. We've all heard this before. Hide in plain sight. I don't know if it's out of the realm of possibility. I know it's not proven. I know it's disgusting that these allegations even exist, but I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility. We'll be right back after the break. This is The Honest Media. I'm Tom Papper. Welcome back to The Honest Media. I'm Tom Papper. I'm talking about a morally reprehensible and disgusting subject called Pizzagate. And I've also been talking about the media, this fake news kick they're on. They say anybody who posts something about Pizzagate is fake news. Anybody who writes anything, I'm fake news now. Sorry to break it to you. You're watching the fake news right here on The Honest Media. But this is from Salon. A media outlet, a website that is largely considered to not be fake news by the left. They love Salon. Salon is wonderful. Salon can do no wrong. This is a real article that was written in Salon. Real article. Real article. I want you to understand. I'm not making this up. This is something written in Salon. As all these pedophile accusations come to the light, as this ring comes to the light, Salon, a year or 2 ago, wrote this. Title, I'm a pedophile, but not a monster. I was born without my right hand. As a child, this disformity quickly set me apart from my peers. In public, I wore a prosthesis, an intimidating object to other youngsters because of its resemblance to a pirate hook. Even so, I wore it every day. I felt inadequate without it. I was shy, uncoordinated, and terrible at sports, all of which put me on the outs with other boys my age. But I was good at drawing and making up stories for my own entertainment. These would ultimately prove to be useful skills, but for now they only serve to further alienate me from the other kids. On top of it all, I still struggled with bladder control, likely due to my heaping pile of insecurities, to which this problem added even more. Well into my elementary school years. This is a pedophile. They are mining your feelings, trying to make you feel bad for a pedophile. But none of this would compare with the final insult the universe would deal me. I've been struck with the most unfortunate sexual orientations, a preference for a group of people who are legally, morally, and psychologically unable to reciprocate my feelings and desires. It's a curse of the first order, on me a completely unworkable sexuality, and it's mine. Who am I? Nice to meet you. My name is Todd Nickerson, and I'm a pedophile. This is a guy saying he's not a monster. He's just a pedophile. The discovery of an alternate sexuality. This is a subheading in a real article written by Salon. Many gays begin to recognize their sexual preference sometime around puberty, if not before. For me, it was the same. I was about 12 when the inklings of a sex... This is Salon. This is really an article that exists in the world. When the inklings of a sexual preference bubbled up in me, though at the time I thought little of it. As I turned 13, it occurred to me what I initially took as a phase had begun to solidify into something even more troubling. Even so, at this point, I could still convince myself that I was in the realm of normalcy. One day, as I was sketching in my grandparents' living room, a neighbor of theirs came to visit with his 7-year-old daughter in tow. At first, I hadn't noticed her because she was quiet. I only heard my grandpa and his neighbor chatting in the kitchen while I sketched. Soon the girl walked into the dining room and stood at the archway entrance in the living room, watching me draw. I can still see her today in my mind's eye, dressed in blue jeans, with a nearly matching denim jacket, with pristine blue eyes and a halo of wispy blonde curls framing her face. This is Salon. Again, if you talk about these rumors of a massive pedophile ring in the upper echelons of society, you're fake news. If you give a pedophile a platform to write salacious childhood stories about when he was turned on by a 7-year-old girl, that's good news. That's real news. That's not fake. That's not disgusting. That's progressive. He touched me. So how had this happened? Well, I have a pretty good idea. When I was 7-year-old, I was fondled in my grandparents' home by a man I barely knew. It was a one-time event in my life, and not a particularly traumatic one. A man I'll call Hans. So this, again, pedophiles, victims. Pedophiles, normal. Pedophiles, natural part of society. That's what these people want you to believe. That is what these people want you to believe. This guy goes on. It's a massive, disgusting article that just goes on and on and on and on. And he talks about at some point babysitting someone and having these disgusting thoughts. And in the middle of it, he just gets up and leaves the child because he's going to do these disgusting thoughts. This is all normal, according to these people. This type of disgusting activity, these thoughts, they're trying to normalize and say, it's just a different sexuality. What are you, a bigot? But again, if you say anything about Pizzagate, if you talk about Comet Ping Pong, if you talk about these emails that make no sense, then you're fake news. This is real news. You're fake news. Okay, we'll be right back after the break. We're taking an early break. This is too disgusting. I think we're going to have to transition subjects. This is The Honest Media. I'm Tom Pappert. I'll be right back after the break. Welcome back to The Honest Media, because I think we all probably need to take a shower after talking about Pizzagate for the past half hour. Let's transition into something that's still messed up. I would like to use another word instead of messed up, but it's still disgusting. But it's disgusting in a better way, if that's at all possible. So this is from the New York Post. Report buried Trump-related hate crimes against white kids. At least 2,000 educators around the country reported racist slurs and other derogatory language leveled against white students in the first days after Donald Trump was elected president. But the group that surveyed the teachers didn't publish the results in its report on Trump-related, quote, hate crimes. The Southern Poverty Law Center, of course, it's this group of communists at it again, partnered with the American Federation of Teachers, which formally endorsed Hillary Clinton, to circulate the questionnaire among its 1.6 million, mostly Democratic members. These would be teachers. These would be the people educating your children. Homeschool, folks, it's important. So they sent them out to K through 12 teachers and administrators who subscribe to this teaching tolerance newsletter that they put out. SPLC's widely cited report, The Trump Effect, the impact of the 2016 presidential election on our nation's schools, reported that 40% of more than 10,000 educators who responded to the survey have heard derogatory language directed at students of color, Muslims, immigrants, and people based on gender or sexual orientation. The takeaway was that Trump is a bigot, essentially, and his presence makes these kids bigots. They didn't talk about the whole story. According back to the New York Post, the Montgomery, an Alabama-based nonprofit, self-censored results from a key question and asked educators whether they disagree or agree with the following statement. I have heard derogatory language or slurs about white students. Asked last week to provide the data, SPLC initially said it was having a hard time getting the information from the researchers. Pressed, SPLC spokeswoman Kirsten Brokenkamp finally revealed that about 20% answered affirmatively to that question. Brokenkamp did not provide an explanation for the absence of such a substantial metrics, at least 2,000 bias-related incidents against white students from the report, which focused instead on anti-immigrant sentiment, anti-Muslim sentiment, and slurs about students of color related to the election. They left it out because it would not fit their ideological narrative. Former Education Department civil rights attorney Hans Bader said, it was deemed an inconvenient truth. And of course, this is the Southern Poverty Law Center we're talking about. They are responsible for some of the most egregious insults to intellectualism that exist. This is back to the New York Post. Founded in 1971, SPLC claims to be a nonpartisan civil rights law firm, but it receives funding from leftist groups, including ones controlled by billionaire George Soros. What a big surprise. And a review of the Federal Election Commission records reveal that its board members have contributed more than $13,400 to Hillary Clinton's presidential campaigns. Bader says SPLC has an agenda to derail the Trump administration before it starts. From Bader, these flawed SPLC reports will be cited by left-wing special interests to try to block the confirmation of moderate and conservative people to posts such as Attorney General by falsely making it look like America's schools and streets are pervaded by bigotry. So there you have it. They're going to do anything they can to discredit Trump. They're going to do anything they can to make it seem like there is no anti-white sentiment. And this is, at the same time, you see PewDiePie, the YouTube sensation, who is saying he's going to terminate his massively popular YouTube account. Ask your kids. They'll know what it's about. Because it's being unfairly censored, he says, killed by YouTube. He says on his video, my YouTube channel is dying. I think it's because I don't have the views YouTube likes. Apparently the guy was somewhat of a vocal Trump supporter. And at one point in his video, he says, I'm white. Can I make that comment? I think it's part of the problem. And of course, if you look at the independent.co.uk, they make it sound as though he went on a 15-minute racist rant about why his video is being taken down because he's white. But that was a mere part of his video. But this continues this idea that for whatever reason, anti-white sentiment goes unheard of. If you express it, if you say it does exist, you are called a bigot. This is part, and this is why I personally think Richard Spencer, what was going on with this guy? Again, this is the guy who did the Heil Trump, Heil our future, the nonsense, the insanity. Why would you do this if you want your ideas to be taken seriously? If there really is a problem with white people being unfairly targeted, why would you make an ass out of yourself? And we know now that 2,000 kids, there's been at least 2,000 incidents of hate crimes, hate speech against children. It's a confusing question that doesn't really make much sense unless you admit some of what these people are talking about. And I'm talking about the real alt-right, these people who have been essentially talking about white identity politics for a very long time. So I want to close off with a little bit more entertaining two stories. that both have to do with Madonna and women like Madonna. So the first one, Trump's election stole my desire to look for a partner, by the Washington Post. This is a disgusting woman, and I feel bad for her children. In August, I went in 6 states in 1 week. I had decided I was ready to look for a partner. Enough of this dating unavailable men a half-decade younger than me. They'd never seriously consider a relationship with me, my 2 children, and our needy dog. No, I wanted to find an equal, a man who wouldn't feel the need to step in and rescue me. I didn't need rescuing. I've been on my own with my kids for most of the past decade. I have no idea what a supportive partner would even look like in my house. I imagined it as some sort of potluck. We'd both bring things we have to offer and place them on the table. My ability to multitask and keep everyone's schedules on track would sit next to his ability to fix cars, cook, or read books in silly voices. Then we'd feast. And this woman goes on and on and on and on and on to conclude, she's talking to her children. This is the type of brainwashing that goes on in these households, and it's sad. Single mother households, it's sad. When I told her daughter, that Trump had won, she protested. But Mom, you said Hillary was going to win. A lot of people thought the same thing, I said, hugging her, a little scared to send her to school, out into the big sky country of the red state where we live. 20 minutes later, at a stoplight on the way to drop off my 2-year-old daughter at daycare, steam started creeping out under the hood of my car. Fortunately, my mechanic's shop was nearby. And it goes on and on and on. And she says that she's disgusted by Trump and what it means for America, so she's not breeding. And I only have one thing to say. What did you do with the parents of your children? What did you do with the dads? How come they're not in the picture? Were they so bad? Did you pick a bad man to be the father of your children? Is that what happened? Or did he leave? Or did you push him away? Or did you want his alimony? Disgusting, disgusting people mining us, as I said before with the pedophile story, trying to mine our sympathy from us by force. It's disgusting. But okay, this is a genuinely happy story to me. This is from Breitbart. Devastated. Madonna breaks down over Trump. Haven't had a good night's sleep since election. This is the woman who offered to perform oral sex on anyone willing to vote for Hillary Clinton. Madonna unloaded her thoughts about the presidential election, Donald Trump, ageism, and her personal life in an interview with actress Elizabeth Banks for Billboard magazine published Monday. And this is from that interview according to Breitbart regarding the Trump victory. It felt like a combination of heartbreak and betrayal you feel when someone you love more than anything leaves you, and also a death. I feel that way every morning. I wake up and say, oh wait, Donald Trump is still the president. It wasn't a bad dream I had. It feels like women betrayed us. The percentage of women who voted for Trump was insanely high. She added, joining others who have criticized other women for voting for Trump, including actress Lena Dunham. Women hate women. Women's nature is to not support other women. It's really sad. Other people didn't bother to vote because they didn't like either candidate, or they didn't think Trump had a chance in the world. They took their hands off the wheel and the car crashed. So you know what, Madonna? I'm glad you're unhappy. I'm glad you're crying into your pillow every night, because if this is the type of stupidity you espouse, if you're the type of person to say that our country is ruined because of a new president, because the woman who openly advocated for World War III with Russia, the woman who openly advocated events that would eventually lead to a nuclear Armageddon, Hillary Clinton is who I'm talking about, by the way. If you think that would have been the good president, I'm glad you're crying into your pillow. You deserve it, you crazy, crusty witch. Thanks for watching The Honest Media. Sorry for the bummer. We'll be back next week.